So after a hiatus of a couple of months, I'm getting back to this project of writing a song from scratch. Determined to see it through to the end, despite a bit of a break from it. Back at the end of last year, I had worked out a basic chord structure and some melody lines for the song, but what it didn't have was lyrics. So the last few days I've been revisiting what I had already done and have been starting to think about adding some words to the song. Now, we've got a working title. The song's called Anthill. And this, I think, is a kind of a fairly obvious metaphor for the city I live in at the moment, which is Cairo in Egypt, where we have something in the region of 12 million people. And so I think the image of the city being an anthill is something that you can play with quite a bit. What I've been doing the last few days is what I often do when I've just started writing a song, playing with the title. I've just been doing really some free writing in a little songwriting journal. And so what I've done, and I've been writing pencil so you probably can't see, is fill 3 pages of words, of lines based around the title. Some of it's got potential, some of it's probably not so good, but that's okay at this stage. It's really, this is all about generating ideas. What I will do is I'll look at what I've got here, and then I can tease out some of the best parts and start to add them to the music. We're still kind of seeking what the song is trying to say. At the moment, I feel like there are kind of 3 different directions you might travel in. First of all, it might just be the experience of living in the city. It could just be a song which just talks about the woe factor of being one amongst so many in this crazy place. But also, there's probably some kind of political angles about portraying a human population as something like a colony, like an ant colony. So there's some interesting things maybe to say about the politics of power in Egypt, what happens when you start to stir up an ant's nest, and that might be from the perspective of the little worker drones, or it might be from the perspective of the person who's kicking over the anthill, and what happens after that. Anyway, I'll just read out a few little lines that I've scrawled down. This will sound incredibly pretentious, I think, if I'm just saying it out loud. I think my songs at the best of the time can get pretty pretentious, but with a bit of music, it kind of modifies it. Standing naked, they might sound a bit ridiculous. So wherever you are, feel free to laugh at me. So we have here, teeming in our multitudes, crammed into the narrow alleys and congested streets, an invisible force is prodding us, and our human forms swim in swells of impotent anger. The anthill keeps on growing, teetering hopeless homes, squashed in between the factories in endless uniform rows. I'm waving my hands constantly, blindly feeling for a touch, or stretching out and reaching. Can I extend my limbs? Can I find an empty space, a vacuum in which to spin? The anthill howls around me, every voice made unintelligible. If the decibels scrape the red, it all comes tumbling down upon our heads. The anthill collapses, constructed again. The bones and exoskeletons tell our foundations are resting on fallible men. That's some bits from the first page. What else do I like? Anything precious is borne down into the anthill to be consumed. You can taste what you have lost hanging somewhere on these stagnant fumes. Can an anthill overthrow its queen? Could this filthy city one day shine and gleam? Some long fossilized remembrance urges me to stand absolutely still. The anthill frantic about me, souls threshing within the spinning mill. These incorrigible people, this muted, fuzzy ochre air, every soul smeared by soot and indistinguishable. And some things from the final page, which I've just been writing. What do we like? Should you kick this nest? God goes trudging past, stick in hand, heavy tread shaking the land. The construction never stops when a body drops, they just brick the body in. Exoskeletons made this city's skin, despite the tired legs, the massive burdens balanced high upon our heads, the sun upon our brow, as we hustle through the anthill. So, just bits and bobs really. Just enough to begin with. And I think I'll find some of those lines, put them to music, see if they work. And if they do, that will then guide the rest of the song. And I'll be chopping and changing and taking a few things from my notebook that I've already come up with, but there'll be a lot more craft going into it and songwriting hard work to come to actually turn these ideas into a proper set of lyrics. But hopefully I'll have something for you in a few weeks' time. We'll see.